Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Bottom of the Bill. We got Connor Dworschak here tonight.
What's up, y'all?
Thanks for being with us, man. This is gonna be a cool episode. Cheers before we get started with anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cheers, y'all.
How you like the bourbon and sweet tea?
It's delicious.
I just found out about it. I ran out of mixers, and so I decided to put sweet tea in my bourbon. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is probably the most southern thing that you can drink.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
pretty delicious.
Would never
Kentucky
guess
thing.
that.
It's very strange.
Cool. Let's get into it. How'd you get started here in Jax, man? What's your background?
I grew up in Jacksonville, out towards the beaches. As far as the music scene goes, I grew up playing in punk bands in high school, and then kind of transitioned into some metal bands, some pop punk bands, into DJing, and then into festivals and to buying shows and owning the venue now. And that's kind of here where we are.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick progression over. What did you play? What did you play in punk band?
I played guitar
Yeah,
and I sang.
Yeah, I remember that you played guitar. We talked about that before.
Yeah. I still play guitar.
You do?
Yeah, at the house. It's kind of a me thing, you know.
What you were telling me before we got started, you had some like projects lined up or that you were doing before you got started in like the DJ side of things, like some a metal band, like a rock band.
Yeah. So I played in a bunch of bands, and then the band I was in when I was around 18 was a band called Harlow, and it was basically a metalcore band with some melodic undertones, and there was a screamer. I was a singer and played guitar, and we did a decent amount there. Got a little record deal, a management contract, did the Warped Tour circuit,
Really?
and whatnot. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, that was when I was 18. So 18 to
Way
like
to go, bud.
Yeah.
to like 20, 21, I was in that band. And then after that, I joined a band. It was previously called Shadow Agency in Jax Beach. But when I joined, we changed the name to Hello Danger, and I was just singing in that band. I wasn't
that name sounds
playing
very
guitar.
familiar.
Yeah, it was a pop. I want to say pop punk, but that's giving it too much punk credit. It was more of a pop rock band.
Yeah.
With a bunch of dudes that grew up playing punk. But it was cool. It was I viewed that as more of like a writing project and kind of like a maturity thing, you know, as being a musician. I've learned how to really write quality songs. We did some songs we released with like Ryan Key from Yellow Card, some other stuff. It was super fun. That's all available on Spotify. Harlow is a little bit harder to find, but
You guys not on any of the streaming platforms?
I think it's on Apple Music. I don't have
Okay.
Apple Music. I know it was on iTunes back in the day, so I think maybe you can play it on Apple Music. I don't know though.
Harlow, Harlo
E.
E.
Harloe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check it out after.
Yeah.
I had no idea, man.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I mean, that was cool. That band was cool because it was the songs we ended up putting on the albums and stuff. We were writing, during high school, and so it was, to look back at it now, it's kind of like right when I became a serious musician. It was the first tunes I ever wrote.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went
Fletcher?
to Bishop Kenny for 2 years and Fletcher for 2 years.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What did you anything about like the process of like publishing the music that you learned about, or the stuff that I've always like that process can be pretty frustrating when you're talking about like splitting up credits and everything like that. How did you guys, if you don't mind getting into that a little bit?
Yeah, so and Hello Danger was that second band was the first time I ever experienced anything with publishing and whatnot. We were kids before, we didn't really worry about it too much. Now, when we did publish that stuff, we split the writing credits between myself and then Stephen Carey, who's now a country singer in Nashville, and then Ian Christian, who writes country music in Nashville.
Really?
So they're both now professional songwriters.
Awesome.
But the three of us pretty much would get the writing credits because they would create, the chord patterns, the melodies and stuff, and we'd all write the lyrics and vocals together. But yeah, and all the albums we put out with that band was all independently released. So it was 2008 and 9, I think, 10 maybe, which was a lot harder to independently release something back then. If you don't remember, I mean, it was,
of course.
you know,
Distribution was a much different thing back then.
And everyone was trying to get a record deal. There wasn't, you know,
It was
Chance the
MySpace.
Rapper or anyone had blown up on SoundCloud yet.
It was
Right.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
MySpace.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you had
And
stuff.
we recorded everything ourselves too.
Yeah, of course.
Which was my favorite part about that project, was really kind of getting a grasp on the studio,
Yeah.
because, you know, it wasn't affordable to do, you know, to write as much music and record as much music as we were and go to studios. So we built a little recording studio in the garage of our house, or not my house. It was Joe and Ian's house in Jack's Beach, and it was you know, totally lined with foam. It was, you know, it was pretty sick.
Nice.
And, yeah,
I want to have a studio so bad. Like, I feel like let's just
you got the room right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just do it, man. Like,
I got the gear.
You got the gear too?
I got the gear. Yeah.
All right, okay. Well, he'll be our engineer, and then we don't have to drive all the way down to Miami to record records
Yeah,
all the
that'd be
time.
great.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
mean,
we love
if you guys get a small rig and just track
yeah.
everything, and make sure you get, you know, make sure you're getting, you know, a B line for your guitar, just a line in,
Right.
and then you know, decent drum takes,
Yeah.
because you can sound replace a lot of it anyways, or they probably will sound replace in the mix down process.
Right.
And that's where we were at. We weren't getting the best quality takes. Half the time they would take our line in guitar and process it, you know, and then with a whole different guitar sound.
That's my
Which,
only issue with that kind of stuff in the studio, is like I like to mic up the amps and get like as much of a natural sound as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and we had Ben Strock on a few weeks back, like a month ago now.
Yeah, he's
and,
been building his digital rig, right?
Oh yeah, and he's
Yeah.
like, now he swears by it now. He's been trying to convince me to get off the tube amps for a long time.
Because when we go to the studio, his you can't really hear it because it's like, you know, soundproof. Like, you can kind of hear him play it. Then as soon as like you open the door, it's the loudest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It is dangerously loud. If you don't
I
have
don't
headphones
understand
in there,
it.
you do some real damage.
Why does it gotta be so
because
loud?
you get that.
Yeah, the tube amp
tone.
works best at highest volume.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But as someone who's been the guitar player, the engineer, you know, around music all the time, I'll tell you my biggest pet peeve is loud guitars.
Yeah,
Duh.
bro, I
Biggest
feel
one
you.
I It's the harshest frequencies in the room.
Yeah.
And you have to just keep bringing everything else up in volume, and then everything's loud. You know?
I actually agree with you 100% on that. I don't think if we're in a live scenario, for sure.
Right.
When we're in the studio, though,
Studio,
it's like,
turn it up and
yeah,
get the tube amp going.
Exactly.
Unless you want to use the Kemper and just
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
I've just been direct in my whole life, and I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Why does it gotta be
Yeah.
so
damn
much
loud?
of a guitar player's tone comes from the amplifier.
I get it.
It's really like the main thing. If you like split it up in percentages, I would say most of your tone is coming. I'd say 60 to 70% of your tone's coming from the amplifier.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is really like on you.
It just
Yeah,
seems
yeah. As a
like
player.
they should make an amplifier where it doesn't have to be so loud.
They do.
I
They
don't
do.
know.
They do. It's called the Kemper.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
is that?
So the Kemper is a profiling amp.
Wow.
Basically, it's an amp modeler. But it's like claim to fame is that you can record your rig with your cab, your head, and bring it into the Kemper profiling program, and it will analyze exactly how it sounds and then recreate that. And so what people do is they profile crazy rigs and then sell the profiles.
So
for
wait,
you
is
to
it
use.
like a VST that you use?
No, it's a piece of hardware. There's a VST that goes along with it.
Oh, I see. I see.
But it's a piece of hardware. They just actually released the stage version, which is a pedal board.
yeah.
Versus they had, an actual amplifier that fed into a cab that you could turn up volume, and then they had rack mountable ones, and then just now, I think the end of last year, put out the stage profiler, which is the full deal, but in a foot pedal. I have a Line 6 Pod 500X, and it sounds great. There's some great profiles on that too.
I feel so bad. I knew you just real quickly went over yeah, I play guitar, and then that was the end of it. But I had no idea because most people it's yeah, I play guitar. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never saw you play out anywhere and everything like that. So it's really interesting. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I mean, after those bands and everything, I kind of took the playing music and even recording and all that stuff, and it's more for me now. So
Right,
there's so much pressure back then to do, with record deals and all this stuff. We were young.
Yeah.
We didn't go about it maturely either. It was all or nothing.
But you
Right.
got
So-
it. You were on the Warped Tour and everything.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But that's not easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
it was, and so I kind of stopped playing music out and just kind of do it for myself, which honestly, like, is pretty rewarding, and it takes
No stress. either.
yeah. And I work professionally in the music industry all the
course,
time,
yeah.
so it's not like I'm out of it.
No,
I'm
you're
just,
not.
I just
You're not
switched
at
the
all.
role.
I didn't know that about you. When I met you, you were DJing.
Yeah.
And then you were like, yeah, I can play guitar. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, now next time I see you DJ, I'm like, bust out the guitar for sure.
Yeah, I've got actually a sick guitar rig potentially to do that with
That'd be
with
awesome,
the
man.
Pod 500X, and then the guitar I have is a Godin guitar with a built-in
Nice.
MIDI pickup.
Yeah, those are great.
So it runs into the computer along with all my drum pads and everything, and I could virtually play any software instrument on the guitar with the tracking is incredible. So there's barely any delay. The same kind of delay you get just from playing into a computer. It's nothing
yeah.
nothing
Right.
that's gonna mess you up.
Latency. That's what
Latency,
You mean. Sorry,
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's okay, that's
latency.
okay.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool rig. I mean, the MIDI guitar thing is pretty insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how much
those
do you
are
play
great.
now? 100%.
I play a couple hours a week, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
it's a lot of it's just me, with the computer, just sitting there playing along to stuff, or just like riffing the same riff for like an hour.
that's awesome.
Like
I
I don't do solo, like too much solos. I don't know that much in theory. I've got a decent ear, but it's a lot of riffs and like melodic, repetitive stuff that I play.
all right. Still though, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I had no idea.
Every single time that Lucky played, and then like you opened and did DJing stuff and everything like that, and I just had no clue.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I
Not your
guess.
background or anything. This is very informative.
So how did you kind of break into the DJ side of it and the promoter side of it? I mean, you must have kind of had to start from scratch in a sense. It's a completely different scene.
Yeah, so I did kind of step back from playing live music and doing all of that, and at the same time, all my friends had gone off to college. I didn't go off to college, but all my friends did, and we went to Tallahassee to visit some people, and actually went to what was it called at that point? Engine Room, I guess.
Engine room.
Yeah,
and side
sidebar.
room,
Sidebar,
Yeah, I think it was Engine
It
Room
was
then.
Engine room at first.
We
like
had
back-
just played. Harlow just played like 2 years before that at Engine Room, and it's a funny story because we showed up to Engine Room, and we had our booking agent had the dates wrong, and back then it wasn't like everyone had cell phone numbers, or like you basically had MapQuest printed out before the tour. And didn't
Yeah.
know where anything was in between the venue and the next city's venue. So we pulled up and hadn't heard from anyone, and they were like, "You guys were supposed to be here yesterday." And we were like, "What?"
No.
Oh no, that's the
And
word. That's literally the word. I don't think there's anything
but
worse
Dragon Force was playing there
Oh, no shit.
that day.
Oh no.
And they let us open the show up. They had painted this huge Dragon Force mural on the side of Engine Room.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Did
Yeah,
you open up for Dragon Force?
I did. We did.
That's
Yeah.
That's probably the most
Yeah, like
metal,
15
metal
minutes.
fucking thing that you could say.
15-minute set, and this was 2006 or 2007. So it was like right before they had fucking gone
Blew up.
huge,
15 minutes. That's a
That-
total metal band
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
right there. 15
Guitar,
minutes.
Guitar
set.
Hero really put them on the map.
Oh yeah, for sure. This was. I mean, I remember on that same tour playing Guitar Hero at every house we slept on the couch at, because it just came out and
Yeah.
gotten big. But anyways, college. My friends were in college. Went to Tallahassee. Went to Engine Room for Menace Beach, and met those dudes there. And at the same time, Crunchy Sunday was starting here. But honestly, I didn't know what was even going on with that. I didn't know what dubstep was or anything. It was right at the same time. I had known Vlad through a mutual friend. I think it was Nate Futrall, a homie. And I met him a couple times. But I really went to Engine Room and saw the dudes from Team Jaguar doing their thing at Menace Beach.
Right, yeah.
And kind of got into the vibe, I guess. And then my buddy who we went with in Tallahassee as well, him and his roommate was actually had been DJing for a long time since he was like young. He's into house music and real stuff.
Yeah.
We were just into the crazy club electro stuff at that point. But he kind of taught us how to DJ, and then before we even knew how to DJ, we booked like nights and stuff in Jacksonville, and we kind of learned as we were doing it.
I understand.
But yeah,
that's interesting though. So that was so you had like Mr. Miyagi guy kind of teach you how to
yeah,
DJ
and
a little
just
bit,
the basics,
and then you're like,
yeah.
We're just gonna go for it,
Right?
Because back in that era, it wasn't even that long ago, honestly. But like just that time, it was just electronic music was just like everything.
Yeah, I remember that era. Yeah.
I call it the Skrill era.
Yeah, that's like Skrillex was
Yep.
like blowing up, and dubstep was really a big thing like 2010.
6 Grammys that one year. Do you remember?
Yeah. He's insane.
I know. I'm not trying to. He kind of came back from the same sort of background.
We actually recorded our albums at the same studio a week apart from each other.
It was From First to Last was his band,
From First to
right?
Last, yeah.
And he was like the screamer, singer, whatever. And then he's like, I'm gonna be a DJ now, and then just made all that stuff. But
yeah, I mean his story. I mean his whole thing is insane.
Yeah, I know.
I mean he joined that band at the age of 14.
No, right? Yeah, he's like prodigy.
He was just filling in on guitar because he was the best guitar player that could fill in when their guitar player broke their arm.
Yeah.
When they were on tour, they found him in L.A. They were like, who can we get to fill in? They were like, that 14-year-old kid can.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I think stemmed from singing harmonies in the studio, just became the vocalist.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a very good musician, honestly.
He rewrote that whole first album in the studio while they were recording it.
Yeah.
Like there was another vocalist and all of the vocal tracks. But then, it went from there, and they actually released 2 songs, I think a year and a half ago, from First to Last songs, new ones with Sonny as the vocalist, and they're pretty amazing.
No
Yeah. they're sick.
He's like half deaf, isn't he too? And he's colorblind or something like that.
I don't know about all that.
There's lots of stories about that guy. It's just great because I knew about him because I was dating a girl who was all into the screamo, pop punk, whatever you want to call it, and then.
First to Last was sick.
But her favorite band was From First to Last,
Yeah.
and she was like in love with Sonny Moore, and then it was just like, and then he just became Skrillex like just immediately overnight.
The first time I saw them, it was crazy because he's the same age as me. I was in high school, so I was like a freshman, I guess, and he was up on stage at Jackrabbits and super nervous and shit, and like came out and sang The Little Mermaid to a stuffed Sebastian doll to open the show. And I mean, he's full on like white face makeup, like he's pretty small and stuff. It was a weird scene, a weird thing to see.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I was 14 as well at the time, and I was like, oh shit. And then heard him, I was like, oh, this dude is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Who knew? He was going to be, writing Justin Bieber albums and stuff.
That's gotta be the weirdest transition for a musician. It's just oh yeah, I was just singing in this, rock, not rock, but like screamo punk band or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. And then it just became like the hugest overnight sensation.
I think maybe it took someone from that scene because I kind of had, I mean, in my experience, coming from like heavy rock and like specifically that kind of music and just completely switching it, I had a different like perspective on it than a lot of older like deep people have been DJing and producing electronic music for a long time.
Yeah.
I was trying to do something that kind of tied that in, and I feel like he did too.
Yeah.
There was a ton of crazy melodies and complex heavy rhythm stuff.
Yeah.
That a DJ's mind wouldn't think of.
Exactly.
It's more about a consistent beat, and I mean, and the melodies on that the first Skrillex stuff was what really caught your eye. It was crazy.
That's what I think. Skrillex kind of influenced every drummer to start a dubstep side project.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing with the drummer at the time, and he was more of like a prog guy, and I mean, phenomenal drummer and still a good friend of mine to this day. But I remember he just like invested. He started hanging out. This is like down in South Florida. He started hanging out with this crew of like DJs that were all like just getting into dubstep. And so he like bought like a controller and started doing like the whole thing and like started producing some actually pretty good dubstep tracks. I was like, he got it right away. It's like rhythmically it made sense. He also had a really strong background in theory. He went to school and like studied harmony and all that stuff.
Nice.
So like he had a great ear and was like really producing some great tracks. And I was like, yeah, maybe you should kind of stick with this and see where this goes. He never did anything with it, but it's just
it's interesting you said, talked about his ear and his background in theory and rhythm, because with electronic music, especially programming it, all that stuff helps a lot.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not like sitting in a room with a band and just kind of feeling out the notes, which is how I had done it the whole time.
Right.
I had a decent ear. I sang in choir, so I knew what worked and what didn't. But as far as theory, I didn't know much until I really got behind a computer and was looking at it on a grid.
Right.
I was like, oh shit. So that, this is how a rhythm looks when you chop it up into actual beats. Because I never read music, especially, drum stuff.
I was always, since I think 5th or 6th grade, I was doing Fruity Loops. And
So
Fruity Loops 3 or whatever.
Interesting enough, my first class ever at a public school. I went to Catholic school my whole life and then transferred to Fletcher in my junior year. I signed up for an elective called electronic music.
There was an electronic music
There
class
was.
at
And
Fletcher?
so get this. Not only that, but the teacher was a saxophone player from Less Than Jake.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's interesting.
It was insane. I showed up to public school, first time not wearing a uniform, went to my first class, and he's like, hey, my name is Doug Carroll. I play saxophone in Less Than Jake, and I'm going to teach you electronic music. And I was like, and that was with Fruity Loops. So,
Wow.
But I was like, dude, public school is crazy.
Yeah.
Why are we paying to go to Catholic school? What?
I went to Providence, the really very Christian school, and then my friends. I went to Beach United Methodist Church, and so all my friends went to Fletcher, and they just snuck me into Fletcher for a day. They just didn't
Really.
They didn't care.
No.
I was just sitting in classes all day, and they were just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't even know skipping school was really possible.
Yeah, me either.
Until I went to Fletcher, and then. I definitely didn't consider skipping school and still maintaining, all A's was possible.
Yeah.
But it was possible.
Public school is a complete joke. It's an absolute joke.
What Fletcher is?
I don't know about Fletcher. I'm saying public school in general.
Well, it is.
Yeah. It was just different, It was, they weren't really watching to make sure you were learning.
That's how every public school is. They just, it's literally like, this job sucks. I get paid nothing. I really don't care. I'm just gonna do the bare minimum and you kids just get home alive. We're good.
Right.
It was just so wild.
Yeah.
I was just sitting in a class at a high school. I was in high school too. I didn't sneak in when I was older. That'd be weird.
Mm-hmm.
I would think it was senior year or whatever. And they were just they realized that I was not part of this class. They were like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
I did it 3 times. And they just left. Just walked in and left. I don't know.
Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No.
I did want to ask you kind of at some point you started kind of taking on more of a promoter role. Did one kind of feed the other, or what were you doing first, really?
So the promoter thing kind of started with the band Hello Danger. Like I mentioned, we recorded all of our own stuff.
Right.
And really, have to give credit to Joe Van Dyke, who was he was about, I think he was 8 or 9 years older than me, and I had been seeing him play in bands in Jack's Beach since I was literally first going to shows. So he had a lot of experience, and so he had experience with promoting shows. So we booked all of our own shows, promoted all of our own shows. He booked all of the tours, and kind of just following him, I got a sense of how it worked. Then going into the DJ thing, in order to get, to DJ places, we, instead of, asking other promoters and clubs whether there was a DJ spot, we just booked a whole night and started promoting a party, and then eventually did that a lot. Promoted a ton of parties.
So is that sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then from that, with both of those experiences kind of combined, started booking actual concerts.
Okay.
That weren't parties, weren't my own band's concerts, but it kind of all just fell into place. And it was I had the actual experience, from the party promotion and booking my band. I knew both sides of it, which is kind of, I think why I've been able to do all the roles is because once you understand, you do want to understand why things happen a certain way, and you move to the next role, you kind of get a bigger understanding of the full picture.
Yeah,
so I don't know if I would have been promoting or buying shows had I not played in the band or DJ'd
It is interesting when you meet a promoter. It's like, do you play anything? They're like, nah.
No, yeah, I just decided one day I was gonna try and promote concerts.
Yeah. I think
those are the best promoters and best venue owners are the ones that are actually musicians who are actually like, you know, did it before.
They have actually played shows and been on the other end of it. I think
and know what it's like to be like, hey, like we've been on the road for like 3 days.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously, being a musician and a promoter makes you a lot better at doing both things?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I mean, like, you just like, there's certain things that you're aware of as a musician that maybe you're not going to be fully aware of as a promoter, and there's definitely a ton of things as a promoter or as a musician you're not going to be aware of as a promoter.
Right.
You know, and that's just a whole other side of the industry. What do you think has allowed you to kind of be successful in that realm? Really, I think it's investing your money that you made, like being smart with things like being a promoter and just kind of like taking the right steps to set yourself up for the future, you know?
Yeah, so the best things I did, which is kind of how I became a promoter in the first place, is learning to do all the things yourself.
Right.
You know, learning to do all of the booking, all of the graphics, all of the merchandise, you know, everything. And it takes a while to figure it all out. But had I not done that, first I would be lacking a ton of skills that I have now. And second, I would have paid a lot of money and then maybe not had been successful at it, you know? And luckily when I was promoting parties and shows and stuff, we did them in a weekly and monthly format. All of them were repeating events. So I got a lot of practice in every aspect of it. So advancing with the bands, doing the graphics, creating the events, you know, printing the flyers, putting them up, you know, all the stuff that you have to do. You know, some people do a show once a month, but, you know, on an average month, when I was doing a lot of shows, I would have, 3 to 4 a week.
How do you do
that?
How do you promote that many shows in a week?
Well, a lot of them were parties, so reoccurring parties. So it was about just maintaining that. So we had 1 to 2 electronic nights on the weekends at different clubs. One consistently at TSI every Saturday, and then I helped out with Sundays with Vlad. And then we had beach-rang at the beach. And so those were easy and hard, because the easy thing was you didn't have to start fresh every time. Once you got it going, there was a momentum, and people just showed up to show up. As long as you kept, you know, the booking creditable and the vibes good, you could maintain that for a certain period of time. Eventually, you know, all things pass. But it
was like, yeah, it's Tuesday, we're going to beach rang. Who's playing this night? And
now, you know, I was a decent amount younger, but now I can't imagine packing up the PA, building it in a place. It's not a concert venue every day.
No.
You know, and being there till 2 or 3 in the morning and driving home. Now with the venue, it's a luxury I never had before, was just to have it set up. I walk in and just turn the switches on, and it's ready to go, which was never the case. It was always a full trailer, full load in, load out, every event, you know?
Well, that's I think a grind that all of us, when we're younger, we're doing all kinds of stuff that as we get older, we're like, I can't believe, like, I would just not do that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like there's a level of hustle that you have to have when you're first getting started to kind of separate yourself, because most people out there, whether you're a musician, a promoter, or a DJ, or whatever it might be, like, most people out there aren't, like, they're not going to try that hard. So if you try really hard,
I always say that the majority of people won't do anything.
Exactly.
You know? So
you have to try really hard to separate yourself from the ones that are trying a little bit, and also just to make it look like, it's a valuable trait to have, being a hard worker. You know, just doing things to set yourself up for the future.
Definitely.
Yeah, it must have been so difficult. Just beach rang on its own, like having What do we have next week? What do we have next week, and everything like that?
So what was that process? Like, how'd you come up with that idea? And
so beach rang was, so we had our Saturday night at TSI called Bangarang, and it was absolutely nuts. I mean, it was like 500 people in a 300 person capacity space every week for years, every Saturday. And so I'd gotten the system kind of down for the format of the reoccurring events, but was less and less into the kind of electronic music that you need to fuel a club night like that, and was more into like experimental electronic and, you know, kind of experimental live music. And that was kind of where the idea stemmed, to take the same format and implement it with just a different genre of music. You know, the same reoccurring club format, promoted the same way, but instead of DJs, where you switch them out each week, we're going to switch out a opening DJ, which was going to be experimental electronic, and then a live band, which you know, a lot of the time it did have electronic music involved, you know, Livetronica or Jamtronica. Sometimes it was just a straight live band, but we were surprised. I mean, I was surprised to kind of see that it worked, that promoting, you know, weekly band night with it still had a you know, a graphic theme and a vibe and stuff, which was important, because otherwise it would just look like a bunch of random shows.
Right.
It wasn't.
So you thought about the artwork, and you thought about the idea you were trying to represent, and
like this was an
create the
event.
consistency.
Like this is an event, and this is like our event here. It's not like, hey, this band's gonna play here. It's like this is the, this is the day.
Yeah, this is the night featuring this band.
Exactly.
That's interesting how you kept the artwork consistent.
Yeah. For the most, you know, all the flyers had a consist, like whether we would switch out the background image, but it would be set up and formatted the same way. Okay. So it seemed like the same thing. We didn't try and, you know, make it look like a bunch of different shows.
Right.
We wanted it to be some, you know, people show up for the party because the party happens to have dope music, but it doesn't matter who's playing; they're still going to show up.
Right.
It's kind of, you're building a, you know, a quality assurance with the brand and the night.
I was just about to say that.
So people show up regardless. There were some nights we didn't have a good band. It was just, you know, a trade on a tour or something. And,
right.
And but people still showed up and they supported and stuff. You know, the majority of music was really sick though.
Do you think that played? Do you think that that kind of marketing, the way that you paid attention to your party being the brand, do you think that played a role in the amount of people that came, why it was so successful?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think people are trying to think about things that much.
Right.
I think, you know, and especially in the day of, you know, as that was happening, social media was ramping up at a crazy rate.
Right.
And so people are just getting stuff, and now it's, you know,
it's insane.
It's insane. So people are seeing things constantly, different things all day long, to where I think, you know, people start to notice something consistent.
Right.
And so I think that helped with why that event was so successful. It was at the same place, or no, it wasn't at the same place. Well, it was at the beach. At the same time. It was at the same time, same day, every week for 5 years.
Okay.
So you could come out and do it. Now we went through I mean, the venues, the beach is weird. You guys know that.
Oh, I know.
So
it was still on the same street, if you think about it.
Yeah, it was. It was all on the beach.
It was all on the same street. I remember.
But a venue would, you know, so a owner or manager would come in and decide, oh, we don't want to do this. And then, you know, 2 weeks later they realized, like, well, what happened to the sales? Like, yeah, and we would just move it down the street to the next venue, because we had the rap sheet of this, how much the bars are selling in alcohol, this how many people show up. It's run successfully without problems.
You guys were keeping track of those numbers?
Yeah, for sure. We would get a report every week.
That's phenomenal.
The ones that would give it to us. Some people wouldn't give it to us.
Right.
We would definitely keep track of the door. And it was free to get in, too. That was something that helped as well.
I remember.
But
how'd you guys keep track of the door if it was free to get in?
Because we gave out wristbands.
Okay.
We checked. Sometimes it was 18 and up, so we had a wristband for underage.
Okay.
Because they were 21 and up places.
Right.
But yeah, we would keep track of how many people came in, and it was a lot of back then. I mean, online you would click going, and you were actually going. It wasn't interested, and I mean it was just a little different.
Yeah, there were no maybes.
Yeah. It wasn't no maybes. That was it. That was the difference.
I never understood, like, why would you put an interested button on there? It does nothing.
Yeah, I guess it you know, like notifies you when information to the event is happening.
Oh, true.
Something changes, so it's like, and keeps reminding you that the event comes up. It pops up. I think it pops up on your it dings an hour before. I think.
Yeah,
like,
it does,
remind me about this later.
Yeah.
Or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Mark Zuckerberg just hates musicians, but
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. I mean, dude, we cheated the system before.
You did?
Oh yeah. I mean, because you could change the date of the event an hour before it ended to the next week. So our events online, our events online got up to like 5,000 people going.
Because
Yeah,
I see.
You know,
what you did,
but we didn't use it as an actual event. We used it more as like a group, because groups didn't exist then, really.
We were just
so it was
talking
more
about
like
that.
a group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before then it was just like, hey, just be part of this group, and this is our not just an event and everything like that, but it's a community and everything. So
I mean, it got a lot harder to promote as social media started tightening down on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So there used to be tons of stuff you could do to get around, like cheat the system, and get people to see your stuff.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay to get people to see your stuff on social media.
Yeah, it's really terrible. I look at Facebook posts that we make on the band page. We get much more play on Instagram, but on Facebook, it's like I make a post and it's just like it's just ghost town. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
I'm telling Mark Zuckerberg hates musicians.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think he listens to
they just want you to
music,
pay for the
alien music.
they want you to
He's
pay for the
reptilian.
visibility.
There's something.
If he's not, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's for sure a reptilian.
Yeah, I mean, it works when you pay, and
Right.
a lot of the time, I feel like it was worth it, because, like, for instance, our emo night events that we do now, or did until everything stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
But
you can say now.
until the world ended.
Yeah, until the world fucking stopped. But yeah, it was not even just taking off. Like, it was like overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
sad songs for those who don't know. If you want to give them some background.
Okay, yeah. So since we just went over the background of me playing in bands, pop rock bands and metalcore bands, and I mean, we didn't call it emo when I played in the bands, but we definitely listened to a bunch of emo. And then DJing, after that, it kind of it was a natural thing for myself to do once I saw someone else doing it. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I was like,
No. So Emo Night LA, my buddy Preston, who's in Sad Songs with me, he lived in LA, and we would talk about his buddies who had this party out in LA, and it was crazy. And it was just called Emo Night.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what? So I was like, what happens?
Right.
Like, they just play emo music and people freak out.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's the most weird
okay.
thing to me, yeah.
And as a DJ and someone who'd been in that, I was like, well, I have to do this.
Yeah, you were already
And so
in it before.
I did it, and coincidentally enough, Preston moved back to Jacksonville. I was about 6 months into it. He moved back to Jacksonville, and then we added our buddy Jordan, and it evolved into something, kind of way different than the other emo nights. Because the other emo nights are literally a guest feature from a singer of an emo band.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Playing a playlist on their iPhone.
Oh, okay.
And everyone, and it's like a celebrity appearance.
Yeah.
It's like Paris Hilton coming
it.
to,
Yeah.
So what was the name of that awful bar on Merrill Road or University Boulevard? Plush. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
And
So-
she never showed up.
Wow.
We approached it a little differently because we all played in bands, and I haven't been DJing for the last 6 years and had a ton of gear. So we set it up to where we were playing live digital drums, DJing, and singing the whole time.
Really?
So all three of us sing, and over top of the songs. We are DJing the original songs. Sometimes we have edits or remixes we made.
Sure.
But we're DJing the original emo songs, but we've got someone playing, contemporary sound drums, on a drum pad, like
Cool.
a beat pad underneath it, and then we're singing on top of it. And we run it with like live Travis Scott auto tune, make it theatrical, it's sick.
Wow,
but
man. That's
but
pretty
yeah,
cool.
the reason I brought it up is because that's where I've seen the most success in advertisement, is because I was able to, for the first time, really target the ads to stuff I knew about. I was able to pick out specific record labels and bands and magazines and groups and all this stuff that I knew kids that liked emo music were into, because I was also super into it.
Yeah.
And so approach the ads with that. And I mean, I sat there and targeted it for like 4 hours until, joggling the wheel between too specific, too broad, whatever, and just keep adding stuff and putting a decent amount of money behind ads with that kind of targeting and having your product be, very super polished as well. Like I made a video for the ad.
I remember, it looks great.
And that was the first time I really saw success in advertisement on Facebook. Other times we would put $50 behind an event, and it would get 50 people to click attending, and it was, you had to do it in order for it to get off the ground.
Right.
Wasn't really stoked about it, but with the emo night thing and using targets correctly, and it might just be something I know a lot about and was passionate about, and I was able to actually target it. I feel like I'm less apprehensive on spending money on advertisement now that I've actually had some bit of success with it. Because we do emo night, the Sad Songs events. So each night is called, like in Jacksonville, it's called Duval is for Lovers.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And it's based off of the Hawthorne
Hawthorne
Heights song,
yes,
Ohio is for Lovers. So each city we go to is for lovers. So it's like,
it's Savannah and Gainesville
yeah,
and all
Savannah
that.
and Gainesville and St. Augustine. But we weren't on the ground to promote, and we didn't know anyone in these cities. So specifically used advertising on Facebook and Instagram to show up to the city for the first time and do the event and have it sell out.
Damn.
But just from spending money on advertising, which it can work if you're frustrated on Facebook advertising, it can work.
Totally can, yeah.
But back then it was way easier when you didn't have to do it.
But
you're
also,
talking about like with Beach Rank?
Yeah, with Beach Rank.
but
right.
also I think that having like a good video, making
Content
it look,
is everything.
content, like the money obviously, the money doesn't go very far if you don't have the good content in front of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like we put money into Facebook ads with, like, for events, and like it doesn't really do anything. But we put stuff out there with like good videos and good music and stuff, and you put $50 or $100 into it, and that goes a lot further just because the content is much more appealing.
Yeah, for sure. It's still got to be think like an advertiser while you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the better the content, the more reactions you're going to have in general. And I've seen you've been getting better at creating content and stuff. I remember, when you first started, I mean, I create a lot of content, so I notice all of it.
Yeah.
And so when someone actually starts doing something, that's quality, you notice, because the majority of people just put out shit as far as content.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And so I noticed your content, over the course of like the last year and a half, just get better and better.
Was it like video content?
Just in general, graphics to promote, video, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me as a video.
Well, he does the editing. Yeah.
You do the video?
I do the
He
video.
does
Okay.
video editing,
Yeah.
But
So I mean, you guys teaming up probably helps. You
Yeah.
know?
We're a good team.
we're definitely
Yeah.
a team.
We're an odd couple for sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We don't
Anything.
agree on hardly anything, but at
Fucking
least,
nothing.
and he fights me tooth and nail on all of my great content ideas, and
Right.
then we do them, and they actually work.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
do mine. So.
yeah.
So do I. So-
Fuck off.
But yeah, man, I think that it's really important to kind of like when you're working in these smaller scenes, like with cities that just aren't like major industry cities like New York or LA. I think it's very important to look at what's actually happening there and be like, okay, so what are they doing? And then you just do that. Or what aren't they doing? And then you just don't do that.
Or do it better.
Right.
Not-
Sounds like that's what you did. Like you, with having like instead of just having a guest on, it's like you make
Oh,
it a
yeah,
whole like
yeah.
performance and everything with Sad Songs.
Mhm.
I still haven't been. I kind of want to come see it now because what I thought it was is just like it was just like, hey, we're gonna play this playlist, but it's not.
No,
that.
it's a whole thing.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's
Definitely want to come see it though.
yeah. I mean, when we get done, we feel like we just played a 4.5 hour set with a band.
Jeez.
That's
we're singing.
awesome.
I mean, go through about 70 songs in one night and sing all of them.
I always see like y'all holding up the microphone
Yeah,
stand
yeah.
and like putting it out in the crowd and everything,
Mhm.
and that's pretty badass.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty dope.
luckily, like with our vocal setup, like I said, I run it with hard Travis Scott auto-tune. And so when you give the mic to the crowd, the worse they sing, the tighter it sounds.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
hilarious.
so
That's hilarious.
like you don't notice it on ours that much because it's just pitch correcting in a loud environment. You know,
Professional singers.
right. But when you put it out in the crowd and someone's just that?
That's like
It sounds
literally-
like Travis Scott on it.
That's hilarious.
That's literally like a music Instagram filter. is what
Yeah,
that sounds
that's
like.
that's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, I definitely want to come see it for sure. I don't know when you're gonna have it again, but I think that it's incredible that it started here, right?
Mhm.
And then you've just been taking. Where's the farthest you've taken it?
We've
away from
only stayed
Jacksonville.
within just around this region. So we've done Savannah, Orlando, Gainesville, St. Augustine.
Tallahassee, right?
No, not Tallahassee.
No?
We had something set up, and it didn't work out. We were planning on doing a lot more.
Yeah, of course.
We did Halloween.
Really, you did that sounds like Halloween?
Yeah, we did Halloween is for Lovers 2 years in a row.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting out there at Swanee.
Did that turn out well or?
Yeah. We had a couple hundred people there
No
singing.
shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
we did silent disco the first time we did it, and that was weird because we're singing,
Oh yeah, that's true.
and that's the only thing anyone hears is us singing. And like I said, that autotune stuff's not on there, and we're so it's
it's weird.
3 a.m, and it's you walk up and all you hear is just 3 dudes just yelling,
It's weird.
screaming over the top of no tracks and no
Jesus
PA.
Christ.
It's weird that there's still fans for that. It's not
The
like
crossover is there. I
Oh,
mean,
it's not even that. It's more of just like it didn't happen that long ago, but it's like there's
Yeah.
just this nostalgic factor to it. But it's like, how can you be nostalgic about something that happened like I guess 10
Well,
years
it happened
ago?
half a lifetime ago for these people.
I guess so.
Yeah. It's all about perspective. It's not.
because I just remember growing up in high school, that was everything.
Yeah,
I
think the
I don't know. It
the
kinda just
timing
fell
of when
off.
people listen to it plays a big role in it.
Yeah,
So
big
um,
time.
It's all when you were
so
a kid. And
you were a
everything.
kid.
Yeah.
You were just picking out the first music by yourself.
Yeah.
You'd listen to stuff your parents put on the radio, or like kids stuff, or stuff the radio was kind of feeding you. But then when people took that emo route in high school, they started to really dig in, and
It is true.
and they were feeling vulnerable for the first time because they were
a lot of y'all are
a teenager
Very
and
vulnerable.
angst, and so I think they really, the ties that made the music
No, yeah.
are gonna last for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So it's actually nostalgic. It's not just like, oh yeah, I used to listen to that. It's like, oh shit, that helped me get through the hardest period of my life until I was an adult.
yeah,
Yes,
it brings
that
back
is
all these
true.
crazy memories and like
but it's very unique, is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's not really anything like that. It would be this almost the same concept of being like, hey, we're having a disco night here, and
Yeah,
then all
like
the
an 80s night
or something like that. But it's like
Yeah.
it's not as intense, like at all.
No, it's
I'm sorry, it is more intense. Like
Yeah,
the sad song.
yeah. The emo nights are more intense. I think it's the relationship people have with this music.
yeah.
It's really it's
And,
incredible.
it's hard to explain. Really,
It's also a very unique genre, I think, just in the way that it sounds and the way that like what they actually talk about a lot of the times. So I think, and again, the fact that people, it's what they were going through at that time, like your early breakups and whatever it might have been. It's just that time when you're like
Being
in
a
middle
teenager,
school,
dude.
yeah, you're kind
and
of feeling it for the first time.
yeah, everything
you
is
had your heart broken for the first time.
yeah, everything is
and that music was how you kind of
dealt with
Dealt
it,
with it,
and
yeah.
it just brings all that back to you, which is like can seem weird, but if you look at it in the sense where it's like it just kind of brings you back to like a
Well, that was
simpler
That
time.
was your escape, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But
So
I get it. I understand completely, but I'm not going to let it go unnoticed that it's extremely unique and
Right.
very different than any sort of like throwback night.
yeah,
Yeah, and
That's kind of what
especially
it
because
is, but it's not like there's new
how
new stuff that you're
stoked
playing,
everyone
you know?
is.
Yeah.
So we have some merch we put out. It says I'm happy when I'm sad, and it's kind of it's a weird, and our whole thing is it's sad songs. Everything is, has that theme,
Yeah.
and rightfully so because of the music, but also we kind of follow like a sad boy like stylistic thing, and it works out. But it's true because like these songs and the relationship people had with these songs is actually sad, but the night is crazier than the biggest party,
Your biggest
because
rave or anything
yeah,
like that,
and
yeah.
everyone is just smiles are huge. People are
Yeah.
crying out of happiness. You know, it's crazy. It's
like going to church or something.
Yeah, it's a release, I think, and a lot of the people that attend are far out of that phase. You know?
Well, yeah, of course.
And they've gone on with their normal life, and maybe they don't get a chance to feel vulnerable or like they used to, and that rush of nostalgicness.
Sorry, would you say that the age group there is like people about our age that like grew up in high? It's not like younger.
It's
crowd,
some younger
like,
too,
really?
which is surprising. Like we eventually cut it off from being 18 and up, unfortunately, because it was so busy and there was no way to really monitor who was drinking and who wasn't.
Well, that's the case.
But it was surprising to me that there's anyone under 21 showing up.
That's what I meant.
And I guess, and they know all of the same songs, so it's like they revisited it almost like we listened to like Nirvana in the 90s.
Yes.
Like
is
when
that what it is? That's what I'm trying to say.
You know how we listened to grunge?
Exactly.
And it was like kind of old.
This is
These
your
people,
Smashing Pumpkins? Like,
yeah. I guess so. I mean, that's the only way I can think about it.
Your Smashing Pumpkins?
Right.
Sorry, I'm not gonna hate on any band, but I'm just trying to say, like, really?
That's what it was from that generation, man.
All right.
I mean, think about people that were coming up. Like when we were growing up, adults thinking how, like Nirvana is like the new like Led Zeppelin or something.
Yeah,
it's
Nirvana
just like
was the best when I was
it's just like, and they're just like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I love Nirvana and everything. I'm just saying,
boys.
Now
that's what
that conversation kind of holds up, man. I mean, Nirvana and Led Zeppelin, not as musicians, but as far as impact.
Impact, totally.
I mean, Nirvana wrote. Those songs were incredibly written.
Yeah.
Like they could have all been huge hits in any genre of music.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the way they performed it sounded that way.
Right.
But the composition of it, melody and chord based, but especially lyrically and everything, it was pretty incredible songwriting.
But it's not like you're gonna have like a 90s grunge night and then do you think like the Gen Xers are gonna show up like that?
No, Gen Xers are also older and might be in a different spot than we are.
That's what
it's almost like a perfect storm.
Yeah,
it's like,
you got it, bud.
And here's the other thing that really helped the success of it, I think, is so the people that show up weren't the same people, or a lot of them weren't the same people that got into going to clubs and raves and music festivals.
Yeah.
So they hadn't experienced what it felt like to be that stoked in that kind of environment.
Right.
But when they show up to Emo Night or Duval is for Lovers or Svanner is for Lovers, it is set up that way. It's set up like a club night, but it's a lot of those people couldn't tolerate the music before, so they didn't go.
Yeah.
And now they're able to participate in the same way, but just with music that they actually like.
Right.
It's
I think it's an awesome concept.
It's
congrats to you for even though you kind of copycatted, but then made it your own.
Yeah, well,
that's a great fucking.
Emo Nights popped up in every city across the United States.
After you did?
Well, around a little bit after we did. We were a little early on it, but around the same time. Like,
He's a trendsetter.
Yeah. Well, Emo Night LA and Emo Night LA was first, and there was an Emo Night Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And they both kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And
it's typically how it works.
Yeah.
The rest of the country follows suit.
Still, I like that yours is more
the live performance.
It is live performance
organic
oriented.
is what I was trying to say. Like with actual like singing and instrumentation.
Yeah, totally.
All of those things.
Totally.
Yeah, it's definitely fun.
What so after all this stuff, obviously, like you've just within the last year invested into a music venue.
Yeah. Yeah, that just happened. It was kind of the worst timing ever.
Yeah.
But and that was it's all kind of been like a natural progression. I know we've kind of talked about how the different little eras tied each other together and how it all worked out.
Right.
And through working so many nights, doing concerts and parties, and I mean virtually my whole life I've been working inside of music venues the whole time. So I know the operational side of it. And an opportunity arose to kind of come in to what was at that point in time Nighthawks, and it seemed like the right step, I guess.
So to backtrack for a second, kind of revisiting the question of why it's important for promoters and artists in general to not to reinvest into their business and to set themselves up for success rather than just taking everything that they're earning and just putting it in the bank and calling it a day. So would you say that some of that mindset is what allowed you to set up to invest in the Nighthawks?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm bad about it because I'm like a gearhead and I like stuff like that. I mean, that's my favorite stuff to buy is stuff that pertains to what I do.
Sure.
Because I happen to do something I really like.
That's kind of like investing. But
yeah, but a lot of people, they might work at a bank and then like buying baseball cards, but that has nothing to do with each other.
Right.
Luckily, what I like to do has to do with what I'm in business with. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it has been reinvesting in gear and then time as well, like with learning how to do the graphics, learning how, I mean, I do a lot of work with festivals as well. Just kind of learning the whole, every piece of the puzzle, either, doing it for a while or just truly understanding how it works. Reinvesting your time doing that is really the most important thing.
Right.
You can take the money, you made from your gigs and buy new gear, which is always going to work for you. It's going to help. Hopefully, yeah. And so a concept that I kind of like use a lot, and it has to do with that somewhat, is the more you can like deductively expand your whole project. So if you can get bigger gigs because you got nicer gear, so a lot of my time was throwing up a PA. So the better the PA, the bigger gigs I could get.
Right.
I could stop doing the 4 gigs a week for the $100 I was making, and then just do 1 gig for $1,000.
Right.
And you bought yourself a lot more time and more money.
Right.
And I call it deductive expansion because you slow yourself down and take less, but up the quality to where you're getting paid more each time.
Right.
And then eventually you have 4 of those a week again because you're used to working at that pace, and then you just keep doing it. You keep,
But also making sure that with that downtime now, since you have 1 gig a week versus 4, that you're using that time appropriately.
Yeah, you're not just sitting on your ass.
Exactly.
You're using that time to get the next 4 weeks set up with the same big gig, and then also filling in more, and eventually I would say it's not as much of investing your money as it is investing all your spare time.
Right.
And if you take a break, it's not going to work out for you. But if you keep thinking about everything, it kind of flows. And that's why I said it was kind of a natural progression for the venue, and it happened to pop up that it was possible. I was like, oh yeah, we could do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was something I was interested in because it seems like on the surface, anyways, you always hear about bands, especially there's a dynamic with when you're in a cover band versus like an original band, and why a lot of cover bands don't pursue original projects because there's no money in it seemingly, and the mindset of, well, we deserve to get paid for our services and blah 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 blah. So oftentimes it can seem like when you're running a music venue or when you're a promoter, those I guess those roles can be at odds on the surface until you actually know what the business is about. Then you realize that we're all actually in the same boat, but they seem like they're at odds. So how has your experience being on the performance side, on the production side, informed your ability to be a venue owner?
I mean, I don't know how I could do it without it, I guess. I kind of use those experiences as the whole thing, really. The reason I know how a venue worked was because of dealing with people who own venues as a promoter and as an artist.
Right.
And all I'm doing is reciprocating the same deal, but on the other side. Right. And I've done it 1,000 times already.
Right.
So I know how it's supposed to go down, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it has helped, and I would say from being a musician that toured and played a bunch of empty rooms and stuff, I am more apt and willing to do shows with original projects like you mentioned and stuff. And because I saw, it happened with my bands, that when you really get something back in a scene or as a venue owner or something is when you kind of invest in these artists and stuff, giving them not the one shot, but the continuous shots to build up their thing and putting them on better shows. And
Right.
then eventually you have their show and it's selling tons of tickets,
Right.
But it's the long game. And I think that's where a lot of promoters and venue owners and even musicians like fall off. This is never thinking about the long game. They get frustrated when, one thing isn't going their way, but it's all a continuous flow and long game thing,
That's interesting perspective.
with artists,
about that.
investing in artists, investing in the community and the scene, that all has to be good and thriving for any of its work.
Right.
For people to be excited to see music, for there to be places to see music, for those places to be successful, for new things to happen in music. You have to have this hive mind of people all participating with each other, fueling each other in order for, the next thing to break.
Yeah.
Like
I can just, like, a giant community is just going to make everybody more rich. Like, or at least rich with success.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and brings more awareness to what's going on in the local scene. It's like
it's a snowball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's Sorry.
I was gonna say you kind of lose that in business.
Oh
And
yeah.
So like, I think I benefit from the fact that I've played the other roles before, because if I was just thinking about the business of a music venue, a lot of the decisions that should be made to create this hive mind scene don't align with the decisions you need to make to have a successul business on paper.
At least not in the short term.
In the short term,
if you think about the long game for your business, it's actually a better business model. What you were talking about,
Right.
So I mean, there's like, to me, part of it's important. Like what you're talking about is super important for everybody to understand. And I think that's even the perspective that I didn't really get playing the long game like that and building those relationships is when you're like, I've only been a musician, and then also through putting on our shows been a promoter. So I get the promoter side of it, but not really fully, because I've never just promoted like a show that I wasn't involved in,
Right,
so like I never thought about the like bands having that kind of leverage, and just not even leverage in a bad way, just leverage in a scenario where it's like, yeah, actually venues and promoters have something to gain by playing the long game with you. So
For
it's
sure.
like, I've never that's an interesting
Yeah, I
perspective.
mean,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I got to watch it with the bands I played in. For instance, I mean, someone I've been working with and still work with us today, he promotes shows at Archetype, is Mike Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
He used to own the Imperial. He's the best homie. But
A lot of metal shows, right?
yeah, a lot of metal shows, a lot of hardcore shows.
Like
But when
back
I
in
was
high school for me.
when I was a kid, he took some chances on me as in our band, and the first shows were all right, and then he put us on shows with bigger bands and playing direct support for bigger bands, and then eventually we were he was able to just put us as the show and still get the same amount of people out, and that was the long game, and that back then, in that, especially that club, the Imperial, and that scene, I mean, that was, other than like the jam band scene for a period of time in Jacksonville, was the only time I've really seen a thriving scene like we're talking about.
Right.
Something that it all works for everyone in it. The venues, it's working for the venues, it's working for the bands, it's working for the people showing up.
Right.
And it's because everyone is not thinking about it in a sense of just, I mean, if you showed up at the door and didn't have money, you still got in the show.
Right.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't about just selling tickets. It was about creating something.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do again.
I kind of feel it. Like, obviously the coronavirus kind of put a damper on it, but at the same time, like, Jason's doing everything.
Yeah, yeah.
It for, and then you with Archetype, and I
And
feel
man,
it's come back.
And I think
Jack's coming
enough enough credit. Like there's not enough credit that can be given to Tim Hall.
Oh
either.
yeah,
That-
for sure.
That dude is honestly, and I never understood it until literally you just said what you said about the long game until right now. But that dude puts us on all kinds of shows. I'm just like, you've never made money off of our band before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but he
No
but
one
he-
has.
but I still talk to, but him and I that's not true. But
Okay, just trying to be funny.
him and I still talk from time to time, and he asks us how we're doing and the new album and all that stuff that we're working on, And I get it, it's like there's a long game, like you see that there's a potential to make money down the line, not just make money down the line, but also that there's an asset in the scene, and like why not cultivate that relationship,
For sure. I mean, and Tim has always been that way, definitely. I mean, he takes chances on a lot of bands, and he's seen some bands turn around to successfully. From having done it, I've watched him, build bands in the scene with really gaining nothing off of them other than the fact that they're playing the venue.
Right.
And, but he cares. He cares about the scene. He cares about everything we've been talking about.
Have you heard his story about Eddie Vedder?
No.
He was on. Do you know Nico Costas from Real Time Management and Manage the Honey Hounds and those guys? So he was on. He was on that. They were doing a podcast for a little while, and Tim was on there, and Tim was talking about when he lived in San Diego, and this is before Pearl Jam had really broken out, and I guess he was managing a small venue, maybe like 100, 200 cap, something like that, and the management reached out to them and said they wanted to book the venue, and then they released a single that came out on the radio. So the management reaches back out to Tim and says, "Hey, now that we're getting some success, we need we want the theater." And Tim was like, "Okay, are you sure that you want that?" And the manager was like, "Yes." He's like, "Have you talked to the band about this?" And they said yes. So Tim goes back to calls Eddie Vedder personally and say, "Hey man, I just want to let you know this is what your management's trying to do. Are you okay with this?" And he's like, "I don't know. What should we do?" So Tim was like, "Look it. I know that you can probably sell a decent amount of tickets to the theater, but if you play this venue here, you're gonna have a sold out show in San Diego.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better to leave money on the table so you get that sold out show on your record rather than playing to a half empty theater."
Definitely.
And I thought that was like, holy shit, that's like the greatest advice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, again, as a musician, you don't think about that. Like, all of a sudden you get this break and you're like, we can make some real money. We can play at a theater. And it's like, and then you're not thinking about the value of a sold out show in a market.
Yeah. That's definitely a huge factor.
Yeah.
And if you sell out the whole tour, I mean, it's the long game.
Yeah, it's a long game.
The whole thing is the long game.
Having a guy with that, I guess my point being, like, having a guy like that in our scene is a tremendous value. He gets it,
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, like I'm really passionate about trying to grow, like for cities that aren't at those bigger levels, to grow those scenes into industries. Like there's potential here. There's a lot of talent. There's people that want to do big things. And I think if everybody keeps working together and plays that long game that you're talking about, that we can actually grow a small scene, supportive scene, but small scene into a big industry.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where my head is at, and I'm stoked about. Our room is fairly small. Capping out at 200, 250, depending on the show and what kind of audience it is. But the small shows play a big role in what we're talking about doing.
Right.
It's not just taking the larger touring bands,
of course,
putting them in a room. It's about building, the scene from the ground up, in terms of local musicians and new promoters and stuff like that. Which I think you get the most out of your investment by investing at that level.
Yes.
As far as with everything.
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's what that creates a foundation for everything else to kind of lay on top of.
Yeah, for sure.
It'd be pretty wild if you're like, yeah, I've got money now. I'm gonna just buy Madison Square Garden and then have literally no background.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like I've watched and I've known you for a very long time. I don't want to say a very long time, but shit, it's been
10 years.
It's been
probably.
about 10 years now. So
yeah.
But it's just it's just been just a steady increase. It's never been well, damn, this is done. I'm over. It's like, no, you just kept going.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome,
I've been lucky with it. Honestly, it's I've been lucky to be able to be surrounded by music.
Yeah. And
even taking the back seat. When I was young, I thought it was be the artist or end all, but that wasn't it at all. Through touring with the festival circuit and I mean all aspects of it, I'm constantly surrounded by music, which things I'm passionate about is what I do for work, which helps out, and I'm feel truly lucky for being in that situation. And I guess it seems more natural that the various steps up or pivots to other situations and stuff. But
it's always been on an incline, I think, for you.
Yeah.
And that's the way you gotta do it. I like that advice. It's slow and steady.
Until
and don't get
March 15th.
Well, March 15th is our last show too.
Yeah.
The Ides of March.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Shakespeare somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, we had a what would have been sold out show at Archetype that day, the 15th. We would have had, I think, maybe a sold out weekend that last weekend. But
when did you buy or when did you start Archetype?
So came in like Soft came in like probably a year ago in August or September.
Oh, yeah, I was like, 'cause in my mind, it's still like
March.
Right. Yeah, March.
Like,
yeah, nothing's.
What day is it? We're in August. It's almost September now. Jeez, the Jacksonville.
So yeah, like last August and September, and I had a month and a half long tour run. Like it got mentioned to me that there was a possibility.
With the sad songs?
No, with
at Archetype.
No. So I had So in September. Sorry. So in September, I think August or September of last year, got approached about the situation that there was an opportunity to come in and take over the venue, and I was like, all right, I'll do it. Let's do it. Kind of got a small like group of people together to kind of help facilitate it because I was about to leave for a month and a half on a tour run with Danny Wimmer Presents, which is the company that throws Rockville.
Yeah.
But we had 4 other festivals, 3 that were in Kentucky and then 1 in Sacramento, California.
Wow.
So I kind of said yes, and then left for a month and a half, and then it was kind of wild because I wasn't there, and there was stuff with licensing, all this stuff going on.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like, I'm gonna buy this and then peace out for like a month and a half.
And then got back and continued as Nighthawks and kind of learned how the place functioned in the sense of like the lights and like just I didn't know anything about it. I just kind of said yes real fast. And then once I got a grip on the actual spot and the promoters that were already working on the calendar and started switching the calendar over and figure out what we were going to continue to do and what we weren't going to do. So delayed actually changing the name and kicking off Archetype till January of 2020.
Okay.
Which we had the all of 2020 booked. A bunch of sick stuff.
We all did.
Yeah. And
Wow.
And the first 3 months were pretty crazy on like the success rate of the individual shows and the different promoters and all this stuff.
I was gonna come see you. I just moved over here in March.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, that last show we had was a dude who goes by Bill Murray, or it's a band.
Yeah, I saw
Bill
that.
Murray, Bilmuri. He used to play in Attack, an emo band, screamo band.
Them.
But that was just an incredible show. It was really good.
So what was the calendar looking like? What kind of like genres of music was it, or was it?
So things I can say were things that were announced. Other things are
Not bands in general.
yeah.
But just like,
I mean, it's all over the place.
really? So it wasn't just like a specific type of.
No.
music?
That was kind of. I mean, I've participated in a lot of different genres of music throughout all the different roles I've played, but as a listener, I enjoy everything.
Of course.
And so like having the venue, I was excited about the fact that we were going to book, the opening weekend. The first night was Astronomar, or no, the first night was Dikembe, which is a emo indie band from Gainesville. They have a big following. It was, I think, maybe like 30 people shy of selling out.
Nice.
And then the second night was Astronomar, who's a techno DJ producer from Alaska, who's now based out of LA.
Crazy.
And that was our actual kickoff party, because it was more of a party night with the DJ, and that was super successful. And then the Sunday we did Bluegrass Brunch, which we had.
So it is all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm happy. I was like, oh, is this gonna be like all metal or all something?
No.
That's,
I mean, we had
awesome. So a music venue for everything.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, the week that everything got canceled, on the schedule that coming week, the first shows that got canceled, the who was it? Okay, so Sicaria Sound, which is a dubstep producer duo from the UK. They actually got here to Colorado, and then the tour got canceled. So they were here in the United States.
Stuck?
No, they didn't get stuck. I think they
anyway.
did like one show, but that was going to be on St. Patrick's Day, And then I think the next day was Aborted, which was a pretty big metal band.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah. I mean, they were playing. I mean, the venue is way smaller than the venues they play, which we were super excited about.
Yeah.
But and then I think we had Michael Menart booked for the next week, and then we had some other stuff or for that weekend. I can't remember what else. I know we had holds for Jason Hahn of String Cheese Incident. We had I mean a bunch of exciting stuff. I was bummed about a lot of shows that got canceled. I can't really mention them because they're going to come up again. I don't want to.
No, yeah.
You know,
no, I was just
yeah.
wondering. Later you can tell me, but
yeah,
maybe you can't.
The goal with this room is we're shooting for the underplay all the time. So it was kind of the idea behind the amount of production we put into and the amount of space we cleared out. So we took out all the arcade games, took out the pool table, cleared all the storage closet out so we could build a dressing room.
Nice.
Put in a PA and lighting rig that technically could be in a venue 5 times the size, but with the industry standard console, everything set up for a big band to be comfortable coming into a 200 cap room.
That's awesome.
And so the goal, I mean, and I, like I said, I am like a gear nerd too, so it's kind of what I like to do anyways, is build stuff like that.
Great,
but
man. Everything you said so far, I'm just like, awesome,
but
awesome.
yeah.
Keep going, yeah.
But yeah, we're shooting for bands like that Aborted package, the tour package, like that. I mean, that could easily have been in a 500-600 person room.
Yeah.
But we have the ability to accommodate bands that size based off the production we placed, and it was important to get the dressing room, to get enough room, an adequate space for merchandise on packages that big. So that was the idea behind clearing all the video games and all that stuff out of there.
How much space for a package like that? How much space? How many heads do you have to eat basically in order to get a merch rig like that in there?
Well, we have designated space now for the merch. So now it sits back where the bathrooms are.
Okay.
Before it used to be on the pool table, which is right in now space we've allocated for actual concert viewers. I mean, the viewers or the people listening that aren't familiar with the setup of the room. It's basically, the place is separated into 3 little areas. One is in front of the stage.
Yeah.
One is off to the side of the stage, which you can still view from. And the other area is just a big room that was filled with arcade games next to the bathroom.
And you turned that
So that's the merch now, and the dressing room.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's merchandise and dressing room.
Nice, man.
And so
you still have the patio and everything in the back too?
Patio's still there, and larger tour packages put some merch, some of the supporting acts on the patio, and the headliner and direct support will be inside.
Awesome.
But yeah, we've got tons of space for the merch. But yeah, I mean, had those games still been there, it's 50 tickets, for merch space. Yeah, that's why I said 200 to 250, depending on the type of show. If it's a metal show or a hardcore show, and there's people hardcore dancing or a mosh pit, that eats up a lot of stage floor.
Yeah, definitely.
So you don't want to have those extra bodies in there when it kind of pushes
So
people
what
into
did
the
you do
walls.
with the GoldenEye pinball machine? Then?
So it wasn't ours. It was
man.
It was a rent. It was a company that placed them in there, and
I figured. I was just wondering.
So
I was being funny.
There is an element of overselling a show though that can work too sometimes, right? When you factor in people leaving or circling in and out, just cigarette breaks and all that kind of stuff. How far do you from a promoter standpoint? How far do you guys like to push that?
I don't because the fire marshal walks in, I'm the one they got to talk to.
Oh, really?
As a promoter back in the day, I would wait until someone came and told me to stop letting people in.
Okay, so you'd be overselling. It didn't matter.
You're head honcho.
I mean,
that makes sense.
I mean, back when we were at TSI, I would wait for Jason or Ryan to be like, dude, you got to hold the door. There's still a line and stuff, but it's me. And there are people coming in and out and smoking, but if everyone wants to see the headliner, there's got to be enough space to safely put those people there.
Sure,
for sure. And that's why I said we take consideration based on the kind of show, because for one show like a jam band or a DJ, for instance, people are going to be outside smoking cigarettes and hanging out, more like a party atmosphere,
right?
Because there's multiple sets of the band and stuff. But for a show like the Aborted show that Mikey had that we were talking about, like that show, there's no way you would try and oversell it because everyone's going to be right
Yep.
there in the middle of a kind of high energy crowd to see the show. They're not there to hang out.
Nope.
You know, they're there to exactly see that artist.
Yeah,
And then immediately leave.
Possibly, yeah.
Well,
Metal
yeah.
I've actually noticed not a trend. This has kind of been like a thing that happens in that scene. But there's like this whole, and I'm sure you're aware of it. But there's this entire sect of the hardcore metal scene where it's like the straight edge kind of shit.
Yeah, for
what
sure.
do you guys do in that scenario?
Yeah, like how do you make money?
I mean, it's we sell Coca-Colas.
At $6 a pop.
Yeah, I mean,
Jesus.
it's
You have to be pissed at a
there's-
promoter that brings that kind of shit to you.
yeah. It's the long game thing too.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can't be mad that someone comes in and doesn't drink, even though
Of course.
we're not making money off the door if it's an outside promoter. We're just making money off the bar. And the same thing with underage. You know, there's no
of course.
benefit for us really to be an all ages show.
Yeah.
But so we talked about this earlier, but talked about it in regards to musicians, but in regards to listeners and concert goers, it pays to invest
Sure.
in the longevity of them showing up to concerts. So
It's
if you
just
let
numbers,
a 17-year-old kid come in to see a show, and we have all ages shows that are safe and appropriate, and it's the band is almost geared towards anywhere from 17 years old to 25 years old, and half the audience is under 21 and doesn't drink. But if they have a good experience, it's only 3 years till they're turning 21.
Yeah.
If they make a routine of showing up to shows and showing up to your venue, then the more people that do that, the more people will be there when they're 21.
Yes,
and drinking.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just science, man.
Yes.
yeah.
There's like an analogy that I just thought of right now. It's like you have your local scene and people showing up to shows, which creates a foundation, and then you have the image that creates, which creates your infrastructure, which brings people into your scene, which creates the industry. So if we can build it from that perspective, then it's like build it, they'll come.
Yeah, and
Just watched Field of Dreams last night. Actually, that's weird.
That's funny. I started going to shows when I was 14.
Yeah, exactly.
There was 7 years before a bar was going to make money off of me being attended.
That's true, because
But
I was going to Jackrabbits when I was 14 years old,
Yeah.
or Freebird or anything like that, and I just felt so scared.
But it was important. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now had that
They're like,
they
"You're
not been
21, you can't
as
come in."
yeah. It's important to have young kids out
It's
and get
true.
excited and and become part of, because that's why I started playing music.
Archetype is for the children. just like Boards of Canada.
We like the 21 and up shows too.
Yeah. That's the money maker.
Gotta keep the dream alive, somehow.
Yeah.
We get Barney and Friends. Bring that shit back. This would be nostalgia for sure.
Yeah, I mean now, with everything going on,
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out ways to do everything differently.
Sure.
So you mentioned not Barney and Friends, but not Barney and Friends.
I'd be
but
down for
we're talking
that.
about doing buying rights to show movies or TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a food cart coming in next week. Our buddy Trey Dupree, I don't know if you know Trey from out at Swanee. He's a caterer, so he's helping us out, and we're getting a food cart from him
Cool.
to put in the back of Archetype. We're gonna build a little overhang and kind of it's a mobile cart, but get it set up to where we have food on the menu,
You're allowed to.
and
Yeah, so
actual
open back
food.
up.
We're not trying to.
Hot dogs and
I mean,
peanuts.
Skittles, yeah.
Yeah, it's no offense to anyone who's just selling microwavable food or anything, because you have to open your business, but a lot of those are bars too.
Yeah.
And our whole business model was never to function as a bar. It was to function as concerts.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't have, we don't have liquor, so people don't just show up to drink. And so there wasn't a super amount of urgency to do something, a quick fix like microwave food to open,
Yeah.
because we still can't hold concerts.
Yeah, exactly.
So we figured we'd create a quality menu. We're going to launch the branding. It's going to have unique branding, and I'm gonna wait to explain the type of food and menu items until it actually launches. But
that's what 1904 did with spliffs and everything like that. It just went to the next level, and it's just another moneymaker.
Yeah, and it's a means to open, but also, to open responsibly to where we can offer something that isn't necessarily just a concert. We can offer good food, a concert, seated service.
Seated service, yep. I see it. Yeah, I know what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm. Dinner and a show.
Yep.
And you can't do dinner and a show with microwavable food.
No.
It's got to be quality.
You haven't had a show back yet? I guess not.
We had 2 weeks where we were allowed to open.
Yeah.
And this is before the spike in all the new cases.
Yeah.
And we were the only people pushing the temperature check, and the masks weren't required.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so we required a mask. We required temperature check at the door.
Good.
And people gave us shit initially. But we were able to successfully carry out, I think, 4 or 5 events in that 2-week period without any, actual cases coming up. And it happened to have been we're still in the middle of it, but it was in the middle of the initial part of the George Floyd riots.
Yeah.
And so we felt like it was important that, opening back up, we used the space to amplify that. So we did a few events. We had a Juneteenth event that BB Deluxe put on. It was a drag show with all black women, and it was amazing. And we sold 50% capacity after we took off staff and artists. So we were selling about 50 tickets, I guess. 50, 60 tickets after all that.
Something,
Yeah, it was good. And then we did a spoken word night, and we did a after party. It was more like a decompression party after one of the big protests.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I think Vlad and I DJ'd one night. And
I think that's what I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I think that that was the only things we did before it closed back down again. And we felt like maybe because we were operating safely and we were kind of the only ones, once they said you can open back up, everyone just opened back up like things were normal. But it was kind of a surprise when they shut it back down on our end, because we've been so cautious, and then just to hear that other places were just operating like normal, and that's why we were shutting down, it was kind of frustrating. But
sure, yeah.
But now everyone that's opened is temperature checks, masks, they got food, it's a bunch of hoops. But we're trying to not jump right back into it, ease into it, do it the right way with quality.
And everything, though.
Yeah, I mean,
set the standard.
There was I had my sister's wedding. My parents are both, vulnerable, part of the vulnerable population on it. And I didn't want to have to deal with that, and no one wanted to. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to speak on what other businesses did, but you can't really blame them either. They were shut down.
You ruined
3.5
it
months. No, I mean, it was going to happen either way.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I mean, I feel like bars are still just getting, are being sacrificed in lieu of everything going on, because, there's a safe way to do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change whether you microwave pizza rolls or not.
Right.
100%. It's that's not the difference. And I can understand why, it shouldn't be that you have to cook a gourmet food menu to open up, but it should be that there's, actual a system in place, and it should be that someone is accountable. That's the thing. Our leaders aren't accountable. No one's being held accountable.
Are you talking about fearless leader right now?
No, I'm talking about in general. I'm talking about in terms of local, state, and federal government.
Yeah.
No one's being held accountable for what's happening because they don't let themselves be held accountable.
They don't own music venues or bars, do they?
So
or anything.
So it falls on the business owners and the people to be accountable.
Exactly.
I think people are starting to realize it.
That's awesome. You stepped up though, and you did all that, did temperature checks. I didn't know that. That's great.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was. I felt like it was. You had to do
more
it.
and more respect from you or for you.
From me too.
Started. I'm just like.
But
Connor's all right. Like, I already knew he was good, but
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it'll be interesting moving forward. I mean, I like challenges. I think the music scene in general could benefit from learning to pivot a bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Look
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, look at this stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
You know, everyone rushed to figure out how to do video, and guess
Yeah.
what? Everyone's content's going to be way better.
For sure.
You know,
That's
everyone
true.
rushed to figure out how to do, you know, tons of stuff, innovatively, and I think once everything gets moving, all these new skills and you know, I guess the confidence that gets built out of going through hardship and, like, you know,
Creativity, yeah.
Adaptation
creativity
and
and,
everything
you know,
too, yeah.
I think we'll see the music scene in general around the world kind of, you know, to level up, whether it's in creativity, art in the artistic side, or innovation on the industry side. You know, I mean, it was kind of fucked for everyone besides the live music part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think the music industry could benefit with some like pivoting due to hardship and new
We're-
acquired
we're gonna
skills.
see a
It sucks though. But.
We're going to see a major redistribution of where the industry lies now. It's not going to be just L.A., New York, and Nashville. It's going to be like now everyone's got like a, you know, I know like now I'm investing in a small little setup for myself to be able to record remotely, and I've been working on collaborations with friends of mine around like all over the country, and just trying to stay creative like that. And I think that most people are doing that. And I think with that, we're going to see a lot more things creatively come out of that. And I think that people are going to realize, like, okay, and people are fleeing the bigger cities now in huge numbers because we've realized, okay, well, this is not a safe place to be if something like this, if something like this does happen. So we're going to start to see like this surgence of creativity coming from these marginalized cities, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to see, you know, the ball kind of go back to you know, before we went into this, large scale music festivals were running the whole industry. You know?
Yeah.
That's what every artist revolved their tour around.
Right.
You know, and as someone that's worked in the music festival industry for a while and, you know, gained a lot of my income off of it, it does suck that it's going to be gone for a little bit, but I think we're going to see these small rooms accommodate larger bands. We're going to see opportunities for bands on the up and coming bands to build themselves because the pace has kind of slowed down. You know, it's like you can build stuff in smaller rooms without having to be expected to sell the room out.
Right.
You know, because you only have to sell 50 tickets at the limited capacity.
And then you're selling out shows.
Yeah, but it'll be more fine tuned with attention.
Exactly.
The people there are the right people, you know.
Exactly.
And you can kind of, I think we're going to see a lot of cool stuff happen because of the situation we're forced to be in.
For sure.
You know.
And I think there's going to be a lot stronger community because it's like
For sure.
before it seemed like it was always not like cutthroat or anything. It's real close to it, but it's very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You think it was? You don't think it was? All I'm trying to say is it was more of what can I gain from the other person than it was
for sure.
like, hey, let's all be in this together. You
I
really
disagree.
rolling your okay.
I disagree
rolling your eyes about
100%.
this
I think
one.
the Jacksonville scene is an amazing amazingly supportive scene.
Oh, I'm not just saying Jacksonville. I'm saying like the whole country.
In
the whole
general,
country.
yeah.
Okay, so you're saying, yeah.
God forbid. You can't just let me have one.
Sorry. I misunderstood. My bad.
Yeah, the Jacksonville scene is pretty supportive.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. I mean, musicians are supportive of other musicians. There's a lot that could be improved on
Sure.
outside of the direct musician network.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
but
we need more people
yeah,
to care
everyone
about
is
it.
pretty supportive, but the industry is cutthroat, like Billy was saying, 100%.
Thanks, Connor.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
No, I agree with
whatever
that.
festival is willing to pay the most will get the artist.
Yep.
If not, and then it just you know, it's all there's a lot of levels to it.
Yeah, a lot,
but
yeah.
that's you know, I think we're gonna see at least a big pause, if not a complete step in a different direction, in terms of like successful functionality in the music industry.
For sure.
And it sucks that a lot of jobs and everything are at stake with it, but most of the people are creatives. I think pivoting is something that may come more naturally to this industry than other
Totally.
ones. So, and and it's always kind of been hard knocks, man. You know, like
this is just another fucking obstacle on the road, man. That's all it is. It's another bump in the road.
Yeah, it's another blowout of the tire on the tour bus.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I think the power is kind of going to be coming back to the bottom billers. You know, there's
that's where we're at. Yeah.
There's are you familiar with Andrew Schultz, a comedian?
I'm not. No.
He's very funny, but
Okay.
he's this comedian based out of New York, and over the last year has been building his own podcast studio and investing in the right equipment. And now you see his clips on Instagram, and he's the best one out there. He's doing it the best out of anyone right now.
Nice.
So he was on Rogan's podcast recently, and they were and he was like, man, I'm watching guys like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon have to do these low production things from their home now because they don't have the studios, they don't have the audience. And he's like, oh, this is a fucking home game. It's like, you guys are my fucking dudes. I've been out here having to build my shit from nothing, competing with you motherfuckers, and all of a sudden, you're my fucking court.
Yeah,
it's like, he's making them look like amateurs. Not to take away from Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel's grind and their hustle, but they were, they exist in the elite realm of the industry.
Yeah, and there's a lot of money and gear and people working for them that make their show as good as it is.
Exactly.
Not to their fault, but that's
what it is.
What goes into
and
it.
they earned it, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, and you'll be okay if things are like not working in your favor right now. And he's just, Andrew Schultz is just basically saying like, now I'm finally able to compete. Now it's there's not this inequity anymore in production or anything. Now it's actually I look better and you're gonna be okay. And now I have a chance to finally like succeed.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I think that's what's gonna be happening a lot in the entertainment industry.
It seems a little bit that he's like your kind of point is like he's taking it off of.
He's a comedian.
He's
a comedian. He's a comedian. So obviously there's that aspect of it. Yeah. But also in reality, like they're gonna be okay, like they're fine. Yeah. And also like it also does reveal the cheesiness and the I guess like the lack of like real like just I don't know organicness of what those actually are. When you strip away the production, the lights, the audience, it all becomes very like, oh, this isn't really that good. It's like watching Friends without a laughing track.
It's like watching Friends. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think like you said, we're going to see the same type of thing with music and stuff. A lot of playing field being leveled. I mean, the most unfortunate part about it, and we're still kind of discussing it in terms of artists and musicians and people in that side of it. But I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of the people, working behind the scenes at the Jimmy Kimmel show.
Yeah,
that's the unfortunate part about it.
Yeah.
The positive part is we're going to see, things start to happen in places you wouldn't normally, and people start to, get known because of the playing field being leveled.
Right.
To some extent,
For sure.
It's a weird time.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say too.
We should get to unpopular opinions.
Kind of anybody's game right now.
Yeah.
At this point, if we're all on the same level, like I could be famous.
Yeah, I mean the what we don't want to see happen
probably not
is this to go on the way it is for any extended period of time.
Yeah.
Because what could happen and be detrimental for the whole thing is that we're going to see a lot of these independent, small music industry people and businesses and stuff be forced to completely pivot and give up what they're doing, and you're going to see an even larger monopoly of large companies running everything.
Do you think this is a conspiracy for Jeff Bezos to make more money?
Okay.
I mean, it's not a conspiracy for Jeff Bezos to make more money.
He's going to start Amazon recording studios, and then it's just like every band signed up with them. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, government, if you don't want us to work, pay us for our time so we can at least be creative.
Yeah,
and
get to unpopular opinions.
Everyone check out NIVA. National Independent Venue Association.
Okay.
They're working really hard to figure out a way to get grant money and all this stuff to music industry specific, because it's the first industry that shut down.
Yeah.
It's going to be the last to open.
Yeah.
And you have, thousands and thousands of venues and companies that are on the verge of closing. And they're having some success in Congress and stuff. But just to note before we move on,
Yes, for
check
sure.
out NEVA and do what you can to help out. Share their stuff.
And also
NIVA.
NIVA.
And also Save Our Stages and all that.
That
as
is-
well.
that
Oh,
is-
that's them. Okay.
That is NEVA. That's
Okay.
that's their
Gotcha.
initiative is Save Our
Gotcha.
Stages.
Who was it
Okay.
that was telling us? Was it Vlad that was talking about Save Our Stages?
No,
Or maybe
Eric
it was-
Kaufman was talking
Yeah,
about that.
Yeah.
Our friends up in Nashville, Andrew Scotch and
That's
River Rats,
right.
are working very hard with
Yeah.
them to try and get their name out there. We have a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone's-
Save Our Stages is the hashtag and the bill that they're trying to get passed through Congress. I know they're on recess. I don't know, jerking each other off, whatever it is.
No,
But
no, they're on summer vacation.
Whatever
Enjoy
it is,
They're
yeah.
just hanging out. Yeah, we'll wait.
No,
Yep.
we're not even doing anything.
Anyways, unpopular opinions.
Un-
Hey,
Unpopular
while we're
opinions.
doing one, you can come up with one.
Yeah,
And
if you think
chime
of
in.
one, if you
If
think
you
of
can
one while
think
we're
of
doing
one.
ours,
Okay,
then
you guys do yours, and I'll try and think.
Okay,
Hopefully
that's
get one
all
for the
right,
end.
you go first.
Am I first?
Yeah.
I don't like fruit and beer. Just give me a beer.
Yeah, like the fruity IPAs and stuff.
Fruity anything.
I'm not into it either.
It's not supposed to taste sweet. It's supposed to taste bitter.
I like it.
You like
You like
it?
This is why it's an unpopular opinion. I remember when they first came out with sours and everything like that.
I can't stand
I'm
it.
just like, what? This isn't.
Yeah, I don't like
this
sours
isn't
really,
beer.
but
I don't know.
Or even like the Bud Light limes or like the
oh God, those are the
the-
worst. The
the-
limeritas or whatever.
yeah or like the IPAs that have like grapefruit IPA.
I love that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
I want my beer to taste awful.
Yeah,
It tastes-
like just hops.
Just hops.
I just want it to taste like
I
hops.
want to eat like a handful of hops and drink water.
I agree with
and
you on
Make it
that.
in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I like some beer that tastes like bread. If you
Yeah.
get that
Right,
kind
a whole
yeah,
loaf
yeah.
of bread. With
yeah.
bread.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna just
We were drinking some German beers the other day over at Jason Grimes' spot. Have you been there yet? In 5 Points? Or not
what's it
5
called?
Points, in Murray Hill.
What's it called?
It's gosh, I'm drawing a complete blank right now.
Was it? Is it
It's
like the
Book-
German
Buchner's
house?
Beer Hall.
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have been there. It
Yeah.
was one of the places, and we went to go see
Amazing
Christina
beers.
play.
Yeah.
Right.
And her band. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot how much I liked beers that tasted like that until the other day. I was like, oh,
They're like really out there, and it was just
Yeah,
like
great selection,
And the inside is really cool.
sick. Yeah.
It looks like a real like German beer hall. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
super cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
All
Very
right, so
hipster.
my first unpopular opinion is I'm not a big fan of sweet tea.
Ooh, where are you from?
He's from this
South
most
Florida.
southern place you could be
South Florida's
from.
not really the South either, though.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not.
No.
Ugh,
No.
But still, like, how do you not like sweet tea?
You should hear me trying to do a southern accent. I didn't hear a southern accent until
it's
I was
hilarious.
much older.
Right,
Like a
right.
real one that wasn't on TV. You know what I mean?
Tony 305 doesn't like sweet tea. Who would have thought?
Anyways,
All right, back to me. I don't understand why Jimmy Buffett is famous.
I'm with you there.
I just don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, I
get
guess
it.
I understand it.
I don't
but-
understand it. When was he starting to get popular? It was the 70s, right?
I don't even know
Yeah, I think the late 70s.
Like,
Yeah.
then how is he still this famous?
how the Rolling Stones still is famous.
Because they were good.
Yeah, I mean, here's an idea. That I don't know if it's based in fact at all.
Yeah.
But in the late 70s, I think it's when he was kind of coming up.
Yeah.
You had all these people that were hippies turning into yuppies that, in that stage of their life. And maybe they still like to smoke weed, but also, I don't know.
He was like, it's like those doctors and lawyers that were like hippies when they were younger, and they got a lot of
Exactly,
money,
yeah.
like to take their yachts out and smoke some weed,
Yep.
and put on some Jimmy Buffett. Like, yeah, I remember those days.
But how did he get famous then? And why is he famous
Was he a country
now?
singer to begin
Margarita-
with, or is that,
Who knows?
or is that like a new thing in country to like
That's
sound like
music,
Jimmy
is
Buffett?
it?
No,
I don't know.
that's definitely a new
Do you
thing.
have
I
any
feel like
tropical acoustic guitar? What the fuck is that? Anyways, Jimmy Buffett, not a fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, dude, I'll tell you one thing though. I've had it for a long time. My plan D
What's
in
that?
life is just to go play acoustic guitar down on the keys.
Okay.
Make decent money.
You could do well.
Sick
Make a
environment.
You'll do well.
Sing cover songs.
Oh,
Yeah,
I-
you
I
probably have
would-
to live pretty far from the island, but
yeah.
you'll
I mean, I'd make friends with someone who had some property.
yeah, just like get like
I'm
a
talking about
back
really
house in the
doing
back.
it.
Yeah,
Going down to the keys.
really
and
committing.
playing guitar. that's what I'm doing.
I have to imagine too. You're probably gonna have to play a little Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so my second unpopular opinion is OJ didn't do it.
OJ.
Woo.
OJ didn't do it.
Do you got anything to back that up?
The glove
or-
didn't fit, bro. Let's just call it a day.
Ugh.
Works for me. I'm good.
I feel like
I don't know.
in this climate, maybe we shouldn't bring up the O.J. Simpson trial, but he did it.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm not sold.
I was a kid. I didn't pay much attention.
Did you?
I did watch the documentary though.
Yeah.
He did.
With Cuba Gooding Jr. or like the fake
That
documentary.
was so bad. Oh my god.
What? You think that was bad?
It was so bad.
Right, it was very bad.
It was like.
I thought it was all right.
I thought. Yeah.
Took a lie detector test and he lied, and then he's like, it was just like Chandler from Friends. No, like I didn't do it.
It was Ross
Right.
from Friends.
I
but
don't care. That shit
Ross from
sucks.
Friends actually
Yeah.
is a sick lo-fi house producer
Really.
What?
from the UK. Ross
Fun
from
fact of the day.
name is Ross from Friends.
Oh, that's the name of a DJ.
No, not
okay.
the actual actor.
No. 'Cause
The
that
name of the
guy-
DJ. He's on Brain Feeder. It's super tight.
Oh,
Said it, and
wow.
I was like, because people always Ross from Friends.
Yeah.
And that's how he has his name.
That's
Pretty sure
hilarious.
he got in some legal trouble. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
That's pretty
'cause
crazy.
People referencing Ross from Friends are obviously referencing Ross, but really sick music. I mean, kind of experimental house. You know, it's on Brain Feeder, Flying Lotus, like that label.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sick.
Check that out. What's your last one, Bill?
My last one is I don't think that a margarita-based economy in Jack's Beach is going to work.
Tied it in with the Jimmy Buffett thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like at some reunion with my girlfriend on Saturday, and I was just like, this place, I hate it. I hate it more than anything in
I mean,
the
it's
world.
kind of what the beach is now, anyways.
I know that's what the beach is.
and it's
now.
working. The economy is working,
Cool. I just
but there's not much culture out there.
no.
So this leads you to my third unpopular opinion is that Margaritaville at the beach actually is okay because because I actually you took the words out of my mouth earlier today. I was telling Billy I was like bro, what are they losing by having it there? It's not like you're sucking culture out of there.
The culture's
it's like
long gone.
Jack's Beach has done well enough on their own to shove the music out of there and to shove the art out of there. Why not just put a Margaritaville in there and call it a day? Keep the people working. Maybe if you're working at a bar, you could finally afford to live on the beach. You know what I mean? It's
All
like
I'm saying is start investing in limes today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because lime's gonna go through
The local
roof.
lime
Local
market,
lime
local
stock.
lime stock.
Put your money in stock. It's a bull market.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I when I DJ for money, when I wasn't doing other things, guess where I DJ? The beach.
Hell yeah.
The beach.
Because
At the beach.
that's where you make money doing
That's
things.
what you make money
Now
doing.
you
Ugh.
don't get to play anything really tight.
Nope.
It's pretty cultureless, but
Yeah.
it's a gig, a paying gig.
It's a paying
You know?
gig. I'll
There's tons of paying gigs at the beach.
I'll play at the beach
And
all
Margaritaville
day.
might be it.
Oh,
too.
like for sure, I'm gonna have to play it at
Yeah.
some point. So we're gonna have to play Margarita.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And so I will say to Jimmy Buffett and his buffet at Margaritaville, I apologize in advance for you hiring me because I'm not gonna learn any of his songs.
I'm totally okay with you being there, and we'll totally take a paycheck from you. So please
that's
hire
true.
us.
Yeah, we'll play whatever
Yeah.
you want. We're whores at this point. Like, just give.
Do
us
they
money.
constantly play Jimmy Buffett there?
God, that's just what I'm trying to say. Like, who wants to live there? And that's all they play is Jimmy Buffett the whole time. Like,
I don't think you live there. It's a hotel, right? It's like a
it's a
resort.
condominium.
Oh,
no.
it is a condo?
Yeah.
Oh,
you can
wow.
retire
Oh
there.
yeah, it's gonna be on the. It's like a yeah.
You're still not on my unpopular
Oh, no,
opinion?
People kept talking
think
about. I
it's
kept
fine.
just thinking about it being the restaurant, but it's not. It's a
Oh.
resort
No,
type of
you've
thing.
not
It
seen
was-
me yet? Or, been on the beach in a while?
I haven't gone to the beach
It's
in a while.
It's like 7 stories tall. It looks ridiculous already, and it's
Yeah.
not even done yet. But yeah, you can just go buy a condo there, and that could just be the way that you
Or
go.
maybe buy like a timeshare because they have
Yeah, I
one down
think-
south.
yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, they have one in Hollywood Beach, and it's a resort. It's not a condominium.
How is that your idea of a vacation? Is
Or like
Jimmy-
rental properties. and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Jimmy Buffett.
Anyways, you got an unpopular opinion, Connor?
Oh, did you think of
I
one?
didn't think of one in the meantime,
That's
but
all right.
I was engaging in y'all's.
It's all
I'm
right.
sure I have tons of unpopular opinions.
Yeah.
But we'll save those.
Sorry, I should have told you about thinking about one.
It's all
before.
good.
Well, it's been another episode of Bottom of the Bill. Thanks for being with us tonight, Connor. It was a
Thank
blast.
you guys for
on,
having me.
man.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Gave us a lot of great insight on some cool shit and great stories. So
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I appreciate talking with you guys like always, and being able to discuss music industry stuff because it's been on pause for fucking 6 months.
Totally.
Nothing's been going on. Just
Nope.
thinking about it is exciting.
Yeah,
it
totally.
is,
Yeah.
it is, and I cannot wait to come to Archetype and see everything that you've done.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
please support them when they're back open. Anything they got going on, it's a great venue. We've played there many times before. It was Archetype.
We did,
but
we did Nighthawks and
yeah.
everything
Yeah,
like that. But
it's changed a bit.
no, obviously
Yeah.
it sounds like it has. I can't wait to
Yeah,
see it.
totally.
Uh-huh.
And please support us and all of our social media stuff. You see it right there at the corner. And stay updated with everything Side Hustle and Bottom of the Bill. We'll see you guys next week.
Adios, muchachos.
Later, y'all. Bottom of the bill.